One coin can change everything. Moneybag must watch. The city never really sleeps, but for Mark New York felt like a graveyard. It was 2 in the morning, and the icy wind rattled through empty soda cans on the sidewalk. He sat hunched against a brick wall outside Penn Station, staring at the lines on his palm as if they might whisper back a secret about how his life had come to this. 5 years earlier, Mark wasn't this man. He was just another college kid working part-time at a diner, laughing with friends after classes, sketching out dreams of becoming a graphic designer. His world was small, but it was warm. Until cancer came for his mother. The medical bills piled up faster than he could pay them. His father had walked out years ago, and Mark, barely 20, was left to choose between school, rent, and chemo treatments that never worked. When his mother passed, the debts devoured everything she'd left behind. Mark lost the apartment. Lost school. Lost himself. Now, he was a ghost wrapped in a torn winter coat, invisible to the thousands who brushed past him each day. He begged sometimes, not because he liked it, but because survival had left him no pride. Most people dropped nothing but silence in his cup. The coin. That night, a man in a navy suit walked briskly by, his polished shoes tapping against the concrete. He didn't look at Mark until something slipped from his pocket. A coin. It clattered, spun in a circle on the pavement, and rolled to a stop right against Mark's foot. Mark picked it up. A silver dollar. He turned it over in his fingers, feeling the cold metal press against his skin. The suited man didn't notice. He disappeared into the swarm of headlights and horns. Mark could ve shouted after him, could ve chased him down. But he didn't. Instead, he closed his fist around the coin, feeling a strange weight in it, not just money, but possibility. For the first time in years, Mark whispered to himself, maybe this means something. The choice. Most people wouldn't think twice about a dollar. For Mark, it was a question: coffee, a lottery ticket, a payphone call to no one in particular. His stomach growled. He hadn't eaten since yesterday morning. On the corner was a 24-hour bodega. He walked in, his eyes darting nervously under the cashier's stare, and placed the coin on the counter. "1 banana," he said. It was the cheapest thing he could buy. He peeled it slowly, savoring every bite, like it was a 5-course meal. But what happened next was what changed everything. As he left the store, a little girl no older than 8 tugged her mother's coat near the doorway. The mother looked exhausted, her uniform suggesting she was just off a late-night cleaning shift. The girl's eyes lingered on Mark's banana. Mark hesitated. He had nothing else. Nothing. But the way the girl's stomach rumbled, it was the same hunger he knew too well. He stopped, crouched down, and held out the half he hadn't eaten. "Here," he said softly. The girl blinked, surprised. Then she smiled, the kind of smile that cuts through years of darkness. Her mother's eyes filled with tears. "God bless you," she whispered. The ripple. The next morning, Mark woke on his patch of cardboard outside the station. But something was different. He didn't know what until a shadow fell over him. It was the same woman from last night. In her hands was a small paper bag. "My daughter couldn't stop talking about you," she said gently. "She wanted you to have this." Inside was a sandwich, an apple, and a thermos of hot coffee. Mark stammered. I can't." "You already gave us more than you know," she interrupted. It didn't stop there. Word seemed to spread in unseen ways. A week later, one of the bodega workers slipped him day-old bread. A retired man in the neighborhood offered him odd jobs sweeping a garage, carrying boxes. Slowly, quietly, Mark's life began to knit itself together from scraps of kindness that traced back to one coin and one choice. The twist. Months later, while clearing tables at a community soup kitchen where he now volunteered after earning a little steady work, Mark overheard a familiar laugh. At the far table sat the man in the navy suit, the one who dropped the coin. He was older than Mark remembered, his tie loosened, his face weary. Mark's heart pounded. Should he say something? He did. "Excuse me, sir, you dropped this once." The man looked puzzled. Then Mark pulled out the coin from his pocket. He had kept it all this time, polished and shining like a relic. Recognition flashed across the man's eyes. I lost that coin months ago." He explained that it wasn't just any coin. It had belonged to his father, a first-generation immigrant who carried it from Italy as a reminder to never waste even the smallest chance. It was a family heirloom. Mark froze. Then it was never mine to keep. But the man shook his head. "Maybe it was always meant to find you." The ending. The man's name was Anthony Russo, a successful restaurant owner. Touched by Mark's honesty and the story of how one coin had turned despair into kindness, Anthony offered him something Mark hadn't had in years: an opportunity. A job in his restaurant. A chance to prove himself. Mark took it. Slowly, painfully, he climbed back into life. Within 2 years, he wasn't just working the line, he was designing the restaurant's branding, menus, and digital presence. His old dream of being a designer was alive again. On the day he moved into his own small apartment, Mark placed the silver dollar on the windowsill. It gleamed in the afternoon sun. One coin. One choice. One act of kindness. It had changed everything. Sparkle's moral: sometimes the smallest things we dismiss as worthless carry the power to reshape not just our lives, but the lives around us.